Good day. This is a 3-2-1 exam. We are taking the subject today, commerce, and the topic for today's discourse is transportation. And just as we know, we're going to be looking at the performance objectives on transportation, and we're going to be taking it one after the other. The first one there is explaining the meaning of transportation. The second one there is list the importance of transportation to the economy and to man. Then number 3 is describe the various forms of transportation. Number 5 is enumerate the advantages and disadvantages of transportation to the economy and to man. Then the 5th subtopic we'll be looking into today is identifying various documents used in transportation. There are a lot of terminologies and documents that is being used in transportation that we'll be looking into today, which is very important. And the 6th one is to explain the function of Port Authority and Airport Authority, using Nigeria as a case study. The function of the Port Authority and the Airport Authority, using Nigeria as a case study. Before we go on, I just want us to know that transportation is one of the aids to trade that has been revolutionized. Why did I say it is revolutionized? I say this because the very first business transaction that took place, we were using transportation by road, which is more or less within a particular community. And the means of transportation and the movement of goods and people then is through donkey, the beast of burden, which was more or less referred to as the beast of burden. And gradually there was an evolvement. The evolvement here is transcending. There is gradual transaction from the usage of beast of burden, horses, camel, donkeys, especially in the sub-Saharan region, then down to using ship in the sea and canoe in the water. And then we gradually started using a refined, technologically imputed and improved means of transportation, especially in the water. And then we also have it on road. Then we see the road, that's cars, vehicles, lorries, replacing the beast of burden that is being used in form of transportation, which we have the donkey, the camel, and then the horse. Now, we also have another 19th century introduction of modern technology that brought about the introduction of fast-moving air form of movement, air transport, which we have the plane. Today, we are going to be looking at all these various forms of transportation and their major advantages and disadvantages to man and the economy, because the economy is the major player, in this whole scenario. And just like I said, transportation is one of the aids to trade. The first thing we'll be looking into today is the meaning of transportation. I'll first of all have to define it, then have to put it down, in writing. We say transportation is the conveying of people and goods from one particular place to another. The conveying of people and goods from one place to another. And we can equally say that transportation is the movement of goods, services, and people from one particular place to another. It is the movement of goods, services, and people from one particular place to another. Then we have the movement of these particular services, goods, and people from one particular place to another is now being, measured or influenced by the type of transportation that the person is involving him or herself into. And that will take us to the importance of transportation. The importance of transportation. We are looking at the importance of transportation. And number one importance of transportation is that widening of the firm's market. It widens the firm's market. It broadens the base. Transportation helps you to bring in goods into the place of you need, from the place of source. There are two things we really need to put into cognizance when we're talking on transportation. Number one is the place of source, the source, and then the other one is the consumption. There is a place of consumption, there's a place of production. It is transportation that enhances or facilitates the movement of goods from the place of production to the place of consumption. Number two, encourages international trade. If not for transportation, there is no way. Transportation helps to open the gap. It helps to open that particular gap and bridge it between one particular country and another, which is referred to as international trade. And just like for a reminder, we need to ask ourselves, what is international trade? In economics, you need to know that international trade is when you trade a trade that exists between one particular country and another country. And we know that the international currency that is used in international trade is the dollars, just for the quick one, because all these are the little things that we may just look aside and you see it coming out. It's JAMB. So you need to take every details into consideration. Not just into consideration, you also have to make it look very important. Then we have the third one, under importance of transportation. We are looking at effective and efficient distribution of goods and services. Transportation helps in the effective and distribution of goods and services. Without transport, without transportation, how do you distribute goods that has been produced? Are you going to, even when you are using beast of burden, you say, okay, let me use donkey. Donkey is another means of transportation. Just like I said the first forms of transportation is the beast of burden. The beast of burden here refers to the animals that is mainly responsible for the conveying of goods and people from a particular place to another. And that is before the advent of technology and industrial development. Just like I said, when we talk about the beast of burden system, we're talking about the camel, the donkey, and then the horse. These were used, especially camel. It can be used to transport one particular goods from one particular country to another in form of international trade. So we now say that transportation helps in an effective and efficient distribution of goods. Then the fourth one is prevention of wastage. Prevention of wastage and perishable goods. When goods are perishable and it is subject to maybe quick transportation, you use the air form of system, the air transport. Why is it like that? Because it is very fast and it can deliver this particular good at the nick of time. So what this means in essence is that we do not waste any time in transporting the goods that is being produced, whether it is perishable, whether it is not perishable, whether it is bulky, whether it is light, whatever the form and the nature of the goods, these goods are being transported from the place of production, which I refer to as the source, to the place of consumption, which is the market. Please let us note this particular two. We have the market, which is the consumption. We have the source, which is the production. And it is also pertinent here for us to also put into consideration. We say production. We'll be using the word production. We also know that production is the conversion. Production is the mental ability for us to convert commodities from their raw material state to finished state in order to satisfy human wants. Just like we always define production, we say it is all the mental and physical ability that is involved in the creation of goods and services from the state of raw material to the state of finish in order to satisfy human wants. It's very important. Then we see on the importance of transportation. Transportation is very important. I want to let us know this. Without transportation, the economy will be grounded. That's just the truth. Because how do you now be able to relate with international countries? How do you be able to move the goods? No country is an island. According to Robinson Crusoe in sociology, he said no man is an island. So no country that can live on its own. Any country that wants to live on its own, in economics we call it autarky. In commerce we call it autarky. Autarky is when you do not have any form of relationship internationally in economies with other countries. So you are closed, a closed economy. And we are in a 21st century economy where the world is more or less a global village. You do everything just as fast and as soon as you can. Why? Is because you can easily, whatever you do not have, you can depend on that country for the supply. And transportation is the only means through which those things that you need can be, gotten to you without any form of a problem. Movement of productive resources. Movement of productive resources. Transportation helps in the movement of productive resources. Especially, we have different types of productive resources. These are things we need to, as commerce students, we need to really put into consideration. What are productive resources? Resources that is going through production that are in stages. We have what is called the raw stage, we have the intermediate stage, and then we have the finished stage. Please let us note this, it's very important. We have what is called the raw stage, intermediate, and then we have the finished state. Then we have the sixth one, development of specialization. Development of specialization. There are some people that have developed themselves in a specialized system, in a specialized form, that the job they do is transportation. We have various means of development specialization in the transportation industry. One thing I also want us to know is that transportation itself is an industry. And the other time we're trying to look at in commerce, we ask ourselves, what's an industry? An industry is a unit of a firm that are producing similar commodities, identical. The conglomeration, similar firms producing identical commodities, that makes up an industry. So we have the transportation industry, which of course has its own sub-regions or sub-topic, which are these subs, such as the air transport, the land transport, the water transport, and then we have the rail transport. Of course, the rail transport is also another forms of land transport. Then we have development of specialization. We have drivers that specialize, especially in the form of road transport. If you go to the park, you see them, that is their job. And some of them have been in these particular forms of specialization for decades. They live by it. They use it to train their children in school. They do a lot of things from it, build their houses, and do a lot of things, and they advance. And they are good at what they are doing. So there's also specialization in this particular area. Improve standard of living. Transportation helps to improve the standard of living. Somebody will ask, how will transportation help to improve the standard of living? Commerce. We all know that without transportation, your standard of living may be affected. How do we know this? What about countries that cannot be able to produce crude oil and they need fuel to move these particular goods from one particular place to another? And if you don't have the fuel, there's no way you can be able to move. So you need to go to the countries that are in production, that produces fuel, to buy, and then you move your goods from the place of source to the place of consumption, or from the place of production to the place of that's to the market. Now we also have to, because I always like to detail myself in some of these particular concepts. One of those particular concepts I'm looking about here, we say improved standard of living. As a student that's trying to write an exam, you need to really know how to dot your I's and cross your T's. We ask ourselves, what is standard of living? We say standard of living, both in economics, if you are writing government, you are writing commerce, whatsoever, as a social science student, you should know that standard of living is standard of living. It does not have two definitions, just one. And we say standard of living is an increase in the per capita income of a person per annum. When your income per capita per person per annum increases over a period of time, one of the parameters that is used as an indices in measuring this is 1 year. So when you continue to see yourself increasing, improving, and then some of the basic necessities of life is being, afforded. You have access to good road, you have access to good hospital, you have access to eat the food you want to eat, wear the clothes you want to wear, live in a very good hygienic environment. You have improved standard of living. That is just standard of living. An increase in the per capita income per person per annum over a period of time with relative relative look into the social economy or social infrastructural factors. These social infrastructural factors, as we are mentioning, number one includes good road network. If you are taking me to a particular place where there's no good road network, I will tell you that I'm suffering. If you take me to a place where there is no good health system, I'll tell you that I'm suffering, because no man can live. You are subject to fall into one particular ailment or the other. There should be a response from the health clinic, to deliver you from whatsoever that you trying to go through. Then, not epileptic power supply. We're talking about constant power supply. When you have electricity that is not being interrupted, then we say that you're enjoying a very good high standard of living. Development of rural areas. When you are measuring, we now ask ourselves as commerce students, what is one of those particular indices that we use in measuring that a place is a town? One of the indices, number one indices we use is, do we have a good access to your road? We do have a good road to your village. That is number one indices. Then number two indices is, do you have good water supply? Number three indices is, do you have constant electricity supply? So these are the three major indices that is being used. Road. Without road, you can't access. So one of the things that open up a town or a village to becoming a city is good road network. And it also helps the farmers to transport their commodities from the place of source to the place of the market, from the place of production to the place of consumption. Is quite very important. We should really put this into consideration. We have come to the end of this lesson. We will see in the next lesson. Thank you very much.